This is the Men's Room podcast where relief is your duty and your innate self is welcome. I'm your host, Ish Mendoza, and I'm elated you stopped by. Today's episode is an original for us, the first of its kind. It's a remote interview with our super awesome guest, Gondoe Mulbah, someone you may recognize. He is a professional actor, and you may have seen one of his commercials or a short film. And today's episode is a really, really great one. We get into Gondoe's experiences as a first-generation American and balancing life through Hollywood as a dad and a husband and a believer, and his experiences with collaborations from people like Lou Ferrigno and Patrick Mahomes. And you're not going to want to miss out on the juicy details. And as always, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, get the word out. We want us to reach the far, the wide, the east, the west, the north, and the south. And we want people to be inspired by this. So please share it when you can. And we are so grateful for your support. Thank you for everyone that's been following the journey so far. Couldn't have done it without you, and we're still pushing through. So let's continue to move forward. So without further ado, let's get into it. You told me this before, but your name has like a significance to it too, right?
Yes. So
What?
I'm the youngest out of 5,
Mhm.
and it's crazy. So Gondoe, it means another man. So they thought that I was going to be a girl all the way up until I was born. So
Okay.
my brother, so it means another man. So my brother, like my eldest brother, his name's Frederick. Then my other brother, Sade, his name's Sade, he was born on Saturday. Saturday. My sister, her name is Japu, which means payback. And then my brother, Tanu, his name means chief. And then it's
Okay.
just me, another man. Like I felt like a little robbed, of like the purpose. But it is what it is, man.
I mean, even all those though, there's like there's a correlating story that's just like, I'm sure that there's a significance to everybody's name that that's named accordingly. And then
All of it.
also, you guys are Kansas City folks, so your brother that's named Chief. I mean, that's a double, double
100%.
fandom.
Well, his dog is named Chief.
Okay.
So it's like, it's the meaning of his name. Plus, we're Chiefs fans. So, I mean, he's
layered.
doing okay.
That's
He
layered.
kind of had it all made up for him, but it's okay.
I mean, he's kind of on the path. If he's not at some point already, if he's not a chief executive something, then he's bound for it.
He's on the path. He really is. You're right. You know what? That is so true-ish. If you would, that's actually right. He's a VP of sales, so he's almost there.
Okay, yeah, he's one step away. So
He's one
I
step.
mean,
One step, man.
his story's written. His story's written
that's
already.
True. That's true. I'm not going to give him that much credit, though. He can't hear this.
Speaking of the Kansas City factor, I know that you're not in Kansas City anymore. You're not in Kansas, as Dorothy said.
Yeah.
But you moved out to LA, and there's some specific reasons why you're there. I'm sure that we'll dig into that part of things too. But
yes.
What's life in KC? How was your upbringing there? What's I've never actually been. I don't think I ever even had like a layover in Kansas City or
really
Missouri at that. Yeah.
So it's funny because like having 2 kids now, and it's like having California kids. I enjoyed my childhood a lot. Whenever you actually get older and stuff like that. At first, a long time I was just like, I want to get out of. I'm like, get me out of Kansas. And then I look back at it now. I'm like, man, I actually enjoyed my childhood. I lived in the neighborhood. My mom was a single parent. She did the best she could, but it was still great. You know what I mean? So everything was safe. We were in a public school, and then God called my mom to take us to a private school, a private Christian school, and she had no money to do it, but she just said, "Hey, we'll figure it out." And so then, so I ended up going to a private Christian school. It ended up being paid for. All of it was
Wow.
just paid for. So she didn't pay for any of it. A bunch of people, so that was glory to God on that for sure, and made a lot
Yeah.
of friends there. I got kicked out of that school, and that's a whole nother topic.
I'm
So
sure God didn't call you to be kicked
yeah,
out of the school in this thing.
I was old.
Were you
They tried their best, but I was
were,
not the stand up child. I'll tell you.
were you actually in Missouri or because Kansas City is broken down into Kansas and
Yep.
Missouri, right?
Yep, it's two states, one city, basically. You
Mm-hmm.
say. So you got Missouri. So when we started. So I was born in New York. So I was born in New York. We moved to Kansas City whenever I was 3, and
Okay.
so then we moved to Belton, Missouri. So that was before my dad passed away. So my dad, he moved us there because he wanted to fly. He was a pilot, but he wanted to
Okay.
fly like missionaries in and out of Africa, and so then there was an airport, and English was his second language, so he spoke
Mm-hmm.
French. And so there was an airport. It's called Richard Cabot Airport, and they taught how to fly, on water and sand, or on this. Oh yeah, on sand and everything like that. Those rough patches, and over there at Richard Cabot Airport. And then on top of that, there's a school called Calvary Bible College, and so he was like, "Oh, I can learn more about the Bible," because he was a new Christian. He really wasn't a believer, and so then it all just worked out. So then that's whenever we moved here over to Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that's how. So then from then on, I mean, we stayed in Missouri, so we're in Belton, Missouri, and then I mean, people go back and forth though. Then we moved to the Kansas side when we started going to a school called KC Christian, and then we moved on the Kansas side, and then basically I was there, and then when we went on the Missouri side a little bit back, but then we went back. So it's funny how it works. People just flip flop. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it's so
probably the equivalent of like living in west on the west side of LA versus living in the Valley. It's probably
yes,
that close, right? Like
exactly. Like if people are in West Hollywood who migrate up to the valley like we did, you know what I mean? And then it's literally that's what people do. So
I was
it's
I
fun.
was I think in California, so you always think about the locations specifically stuff.
Yes,
They-
100% though. It is a truth.
so big
Interesting.
family, single mom,
Yeah.
um, growing up in faith. Um, not maybe feeling some of the weight of that stuff. What was your childhood? Pretty normal for the most part, or what was that like for you?
So it was financially though, it was hard. Like my mom, she's a saint. Like, dude, she freaking like whenever my dad he passed away. So my dad passed away from ALS.
Oh
And
man,
he told my
sorry to hear that.
mom that there's a cure in Liberia, and he wants to go back to Liberia to to get the cure, whatever. Come to find out, he was just lying. You know what I mean? He's just but he wanted to die in his own country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
that
he
makes
went over
sense.
there to Liberia, and he passed away. Then we get a call, and it was from Liberia, and it told my mom like, "Hey, your husband passed away." My mom's just going crazy. I still remember. I don't have that many memories of my dad, but the one memory that I do have when I was little was the day that he died, because they were my fake grandparents. They're white. They're amazing. This couple. They're passed away now, but Harold and Thelma Grimm. We call them Grandpa and Grandpa, or Grandma and Grandpa, and they just took us in, and they it's amazing people. Rest in peace, rest in power, really, because they
Mm,
were absolutely. This is back whenever there was none of this, no social media, no nothing. They were just out there, like took us in. You know what I mean?
yeah,
With
yeah.
no showing, no nothing like that. They just took us in, some good-hearted people,
So,
and so
salt of
then
the earth is what they call them,
right, salt of
Yeah,
the earth.
yeah.
And I remember they came over, and then they told, like, because they tried calling our house, but then they called, they're like, call the white people. And they called they called the white people over at Harold and Thelma. And then they came over to our house, and it was raining. And then that was whenever I still remember my mom sitting in the chair. and her head was just like this, and it was raining. And I remember I was popping out, like we're all like, "What's going on?" And then, but she was crying so hard. That was like one of the last times I seen my mom cry. And so then, like the next morning, she wasn't there because she flew. Her mindset was just in the way of like, no, he's not dead. He's not dead. It went from like grieving to denial, and then so then she flew to she flew to New York, and we have some family up in New York, and some other Liberians up in New York. But my mom was trying to get to Liberia because she didn't think. She was like, "Oh no, I'm going to Liberia." And then, but my I would say they're my aunt and uncle. They're not my real blood, but they're my aunt and uncle. The Kleinals. They said, "Hey Esther, how about you just stay here?" She said, I'm flying to Liberia. I'm seeing my husband." And then all of a sudden, like backstory behind all that, in Liberia there was a civil war going on.
Oh, okay.
So all that chaos was happening in Liberia. At the same time, my father passed away. My mom didn't think, and so then she was just like, "No, I'm going." So then they pulled in a bunch of Liberians that are like, like saying, "Esta, no, you stay. And she's like, "No, I'm going to go." And then all this through all the grapevine, my aunt, my actual aunt in Atlanta, just came from Liberia and said, and my mom and my aunt, they don't talk. They really don't. Sisters. They just don't talk.
Yeah.
But so then she flew from Atlanta that same day to New York and said, "Esther, do not go. Just take the day. Just take one night, sleep over, and then if anything, you go. You could go on the airplane, go to Liberia, and then go." So she said, "Okay, I'll sleep on it." She slept on it. It's the next day. Literally the next day, the rebel army in Liberia took over Robinson Airport in Monrovia, the biggest airport over there.
Wow.
No one could get in Liberia, and no one could get out of Liberia.
Wow.
And this was like for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so she would have been trapped in Liberia if she would have went that same exact day.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And I
I
don't know what would happen to us. Immigration.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah,
So
it's a God thing, I think. Like there's a plan and things like that, because I'm sure, in addition to her every stage of grief that she was going through at the time too, she probably was just worried about the future of like, man, I've got these kids to worry about by myself,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like I need to see it from my own eyes, because if this is my reality, this is what I have to push through.
She needed a little closure,
Yeah.
But I think she got at the end. But it was crazy.
Yeah.
I just remember waking up and we're like, where mom? We're like, what just happened?
How old were you when your dad passed?
I was 5 and a half.
Yeah, super young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the majority of your life, that's just kind of what you knew, right? Just
what I knew.
Yeah.
Wow. What I knew, man. Yeah, just no life without a father. And my mom she's a hero. You know what I mean? She's done everything. She's a saint. She's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Is she still? I mean, is she still in the area now?
She's still in Kansas City. Yeah, she still lives there, and so I don't think she's going to go anywhere. So I think she's appreciating it.
All the rest of your family in the area too?
Yeah. So my other siblings, some other 3 siblings they're in Kansas City. My other brother, he passed away a few years back, but he was in Liberia, so he was out there in Liberia. But everyone else they're all there in Kansas City. So
how's your French, Gondoe?
Oh, terrible. I think if my dad was still alive, like we probably would have all, you know what I mean, like all really learned it. Like French was like my mom's like second or third language or something like that. Okay. So she really never just like, she only taught us a few things, and then I think she was just like, oh, okay, you can speak English. You're in America.
Yeah, there's an
But
interesting balance of trying to maintain a level of, especially like you're a first generation American, right?
yep,
So like especially growing up with parents that are so immersed of a different culture, it's there's an interesting balancing act. I was telling you this right before offline a little bit.
yeah,
Is with my son we're trying to maintain a little bit of the Spanish culture for him too.
yeah,
Um, and so it's an interesting way that parents, like, sometimes, like, I'm sure that every parent goes through this, and I'm probably going to feel this way at some point too, is that like your
mm,
kids are going to be so outside of the things that you maybe hold on to.
right.
um, and so that little balancing act of things, have you already seen, because your kids are pretty young. I mean, you have a 7-month old, and how old is your son now?
So he's two. He's two. He's
Okay.
two.
Is there
Yeah.
anything like from culturally that you want to like make sure that they keep like the legacy going in any sort of
You,
ways, or have you
it's
identified that?
it's so true, and yes, the answer is yes. And there's things that that I wish that you know what I mean, that like I actually had too.
Hmm.
So, and the crazy thing though is because now my kids, I mean, because my wife, so Malika, so she's first generation Indian. So she's
Okay.
Punjabi. So now my kids are like they're Africans. You know what I mean? They got the Indians. They got two amazing cultures, and so there's like I want to, and then I'm also like I don't know, but I don't know how to cook African. You know what I mean? When my mom flies out here, that's whenever they have Liberian food.
Yeah.
But there are some things that I just want to make sure that they're proud of, to be Liberian, and to have that in them. But then also on the same side, proud to be Indian, and
Right.
Punjabi, and so it's so interesting. I thought about it, but I haven't thought about it in depth. But now you've got me thinking. Now I'm really
There-
thinking about
there's
that.
a challenge. I'm gonna add to it too, because that's adding to you're what they would call worldly, because you're cultured in such like in such layers. Not only are you of African descent, but an
Hmm.
African American.
Yep.
um, and being married to an Indian, and having that, like, that makeup is crazy. Like, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
crazy in a good positive way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting. I would say that your kids are probably like a shoe in for any college potentially that they want to enroll in, because
In
they
that volunteer like description of what they can do, like what race and nation. I'm like, what am I?
yeah,
It's true.
there's many scholarships that are in their futures for sure. So
That's for
that's a
sure. And they both got African and they're Indian. And so listen, school is all in our cultures. School is everything. So you got to But though I am not the one about school. I'm just they can do it if they want to do. At least
uh,
college.
yeah. So backing up to your the way you were brought up in your upbringing and whatnot
Hmm.
too. Were you guys always kind of immersed in faith, or was that kind of something that you found at a later age or later stage in your
No,
life?
so we were, my mom, that was one thing that she never wavered on, and we've seen some crazy, amazing things, you know how it is, like it's just awesome. Whenever God said, "Hey, I'm the father to the fatherless and the husband to the widow,"
Hmm.
that that's the one thing that I stand upon. Like, listen, I can't be a scholar and tell you everything ins and outs and how this and how what this scientific fact backed by the Bible. I can't do any, can't really do all that. But I've seen some things that I'm telling you, like that, there ain't no going back to work. When you see it. And so she did an amazing job, kept us in the church. Uh, there's a period in my life, you know how it is. Everybody just kind of, you just don't really, you get really complacent, and then I'm just kind of fall out, and you're like, I'm just going to do my own thing, and then you come back, and you're like, oh man, I want to do better for my kids and my family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but yeah, she was. I mean, we were at church every single week, sometimes twice a day. She would just make sure that,
Two-a-days.
yeah, the Sunday mornings and the Sunday nights, and uh, she
Yeah.
made sure of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in that same sort of environment.
Hmm.
My dad's still involved in. He's a minister for his church right now. But
Mm.
I remember going through the phases of being at church 6 days a week at least,
Wow.
and just growing up and being sort of a young man going through that, I became resentful at some point because I'm like, why
Hmm.
are we always here
Oh,
and we're being mistreated and all this other stuff. And so you go through your journey of like, I mean, there's a popular term right now, deconstructing your faith. That people
mm,
are doing that are basically like kind of unraveling that too. But yeah, to your point, I think I'm the same way. Everything that I've personally experienced from my own life, like no
hmm.
one can take that away. Because yeah, I can. I would almost say that's probably a little bit more like solid than being a theologian that has all the respective knowledge that goes along
Mm.
with that.
Yeah.
But the personal experience and no one else can take away from you is all that much more special.
Hmm. It is
And
great.
so
It's true. It is true
yeah,
because I mean, it's funny because like I've had so many people, you know, and I love them. I'm still friends with them, who've offered me other opportunities of of faith, of their faith and everything like that. And I'm just like, hey man, listen, like all for it, all for you doing what you want to do. Listen, but if you see what I've seen.
yeah,
If you were there in Belton, Missouri, when we had no gas and the car broke down, and so we had to push that van to the Quick Trip on the side of the road. We pushed it, and my mom said, "Hey, look, go find as many pennies and coins as you can because we need to make it home." And then we found like I don't know, like 10, 15 cents or something like that. And then she prayed over it, and we said, "God, we pray that this will take us home." And then she went to go up there, put the 15 cent the lid of the gas, and it's like that's it. And then she turned and we prayed, turn on the car. That gas went from E and it went to half. If
wow,
people see, I'm telling you, if that's what I've seen stuff like that more often. And there ain't knowing I don't care if people believe me or not, because
yeah,
that's where I'm at. I'm like, man,
yeah.
listen, if you just seen what I've seen, I'm no going.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what makes the individual, because everybody, everybody has, even in this life, even outside of faith and all these things,
Yeah.
everybody has their own experiences that mold and shape them. You, in addition to the passing of your father, the oh snap! I just realized that when I did that, there's a little.
Oh,
Did you see
something
that
goes
emoji
on.
on your side? Yeah, I did that. I don't know if it did the same thing, but
No, not
on your
mine.
side, um, but yeah, everything that you experience up to this point that just like molds and shapes our lives, and that's what it makes it such a personal connection that is so
Hmm.
beautiful.
Mm.
How about, so it's an interesting thing because I don't know too many. So in the Central Valley where we're at, there's the Punjabi culture is pretty big here, especially in Fresno. I grew up a lot
Bro.
with a lot of friends that were there as
Hmm.
well. But typically, I mean, their the faith is Sikh,
It's
so
Sikh.
they grow
Yep.
up with a Sikh religion.
Yep.
How has that culture shift been for your wife, or what it was? What's her
So,
experiences like as well?
it's so funny that we're bringing this up because it's so true. It's like, so my wife, because she wasn't a believer, when we met,
Hmm.
and so
Yeah.
she'll Sikh, and so it's I mean her dad's full blown turban,
Hmm.
her other family they're it's more or less like they don't really do the religion part, but it's just a cultural of like
Cultural.
we're
Yeah.
Punjabis and we're Sikh, one is
Hmm.
more of that thing. And so it was interesting because whenever so her dad, like, we're still mending, if you will, like the men's room, right?
Yeah.
Men,
Yeah.
yeah, really.
But
Little plug there.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah. Yeah.
there we go. All right, but like we, so so he doesn't really approve. You know what I mean? Actually, doesn't
Hmm.
really. Is really, that's a gracious way. Does not. There's nothing here. Like to the point where I called him to say, hey, and he's an awesome guy, really successful, multi-millionaire.
Wow.
Uh, and so I called him to say, hey, when I met him, I was like, I just want to. I'm asking for your, approval or your permission to marry your daughter and all this, at first, but when I first called him, he was like, who are you to call me? What do you do? What's your, drilling, just all these other things, but like a good father should do.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, I love your daughter, what's this, and then he goes, before I even get to the point of like, why I'm calling, and he goes, young man, I appreciate what you're doing, but I will give you $100,000 to give me my daughter back to me. I was like, what?
Wow.
And in my head, I'm like, this is a test. He goes, what I thought, and he goes, out, young man. I was like, no,
Like,
sir.
student loans.
Right. Bro. Then he goes, I'll give you $500,000 to give me my daughter back to me. I was like, no, sir, no. Your daughter means more to me than money, He's like, I'll give you $1 million to give me my daughter back to me. I'm like, well, hold on. No,
He's like, is that big bills or a small?
Right. Is that direct deposit or not? No cashier's check? No handwritten, right? And I said no. Then he hangs up. And let me tell you something. That was the last conversation I ever had with that man. Wow. And it's been close to 5 years almost. So it's a big, like there, because I didn't check in. I'm not Indian. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer or an engineer, I'm nothing which what he, his brother, what he thought his daughter would, marry. So, and we have 2 kids. But the awesome thing when we went back to KC for over Thanksgiving, and my wife and him, they haven't talked either. So he just shut us out. But she went to church and we're here, and she's like, man, I feel like I should just show up there to the house. And so, so after, we went to our church, and then after that, we drove over to her dad's house, and the door was open. And then literally she just showed up, knocked on the door, and that was like the first time in 4 years that they've chatted, and he got to at least meet his grandkids, and so it was cool. It was cool. So it's still working, working process, but it was cool just to start.
Yeah, the family dynamic is it's an interesting thing because we have such we don't get to choose who we have as our blood relatives, and that's what makes it so much like when relationships fall out, when there's like disagreements and things like that. That's what's so hard. It's because you're bound by this like innate like this depth, that everybody has and stuff. And so when relationships go awry, and there's disagreements, they can be like, because a friend or an acquaintance, whatever, you can write them off easily, and it's like, nope, they're out of my life, whatever. Right. But like family is like so much deeper than that. So
true.
Yeah. So it's a tough thing. Did you and your wife meet in KC, or did you?
Yeah, okay. we met back. So she was born out over here in Orange County,
Okay.
And she has family in the Central Valley, over in Modesto, Stockton, Turlock, all over.
Shout out Central Valley.
Yeah, and Fresno too. She, and so, man, the Punjabis, they own that highway. I promise. You go and you see New
99, exactly.
Yeah. I'll be when we're driving up there, I'm like, oh my gosh, look over here. I'm like, man, I was like, this is.
You see the billboards of the real estate agents, and there's like, there's the big temples and stuff off of the 99 that you see like super elaborate and stuff.
Bro, they own that. I was like, Boston, they own this road right here. Like,
one thing that Punjabi Indian weddings are like. My wife and I are like trying hard to. We have a good Indian friend, but he's like one of those guys that like, I'm going to be single forever. I'm like, no, we got to get you married because we want to go to like the celebration of it too. But we've been to like some funerals as well, and so the way their ceremonial things are is really, really cool. I like the way they turn up for for those kind of things
They
too.
turn. Listen, her her cousin's wedding. I mean, it's a 7-day event.
Yeah.
It's like, the first Indian wedding that I went to was in Sacramento.
Okay.
And so then I'm over here, we're just eating and I'm just dancing, I'm like, oh, this is good, everybody did, and I'm like, man, this is exciting, this is great, like, oh, and I'm like, congratulations, all this, saying that to the couple. Come to find out, I was like, man, what a great wedding. They're like, oh, that wasn't the wedding. I was like, what do you mean it wasn't the wedding? No, oh, that's part of the wedding. That was the sangreet. I'm like, but I'm like, what is this? I was like, you talking about the drink? Whatever. And I'm like, basically, it was like a pre-wedding for the bride side, and then there's a one for
Wow.
the guy side, and then they're like I was like, all that was for. And they spend some good money on them weddings. I'll tell you what. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's super like elaborate, like with the decor and
yes,
the apparel and everything too. So it's
gorgeous. Everyone
yeah,
needs to try. Everyone needs to try it. Go
I
to
know.
it.
I'm
Like it is. It's legit.
yeah,
It's
I'm trying
legit.
to.
Yeah,
Our friend Harminder is he's gonna be single for life though, so we're trying to hook him up. So
you'll find one.
yeah. So I want to talk about back in KC.
Yeah.
Obviously now you're in LA. I want to dig into your acting career a little bit too. But before that,
Yep.
how did you, number one, how did you get into the acting scene, and like what how's that kind of what where are you at right now with that?
Yeah. So it's funny. It's like I was in high school and I just got done playing soccer. And then I needed something to take my mind, because that's where I got in trouble. Whenever I didn't have something to do, that's
Hmm.
whenever because I had did soccer, then I had nothing, and then I had track,
Okay.
so it was like, that was my gap of troubleness was just correlated to me not doing anything.
What's the
So
saying that idle hands is the devil's playground?
yeah, that's what happened, and so I was all over. I mean, I don't know, it was just crazy. And so, but then I got in trouble. I got like a detention, and I was with the theater teacher, and she was in her room doing a detention. It was just her and I at 7 a.m. in the morning, and so she was just chatting. She's like, "You should try some classes and come out to do a little bit." That's how it started. And so and
Wow.
then I did some theater there, in high school, and then I met my agent at this little it's like a little showcase where I did like a monologue in front of like a few thousand people. And it was fun. And then she it was just like that's basically it's just like a kind of split monologue type of thing. And she was being in there, and then she's like, "Hey, I loved your monologue. I'm an agent over here in Kansas City, and I'd love to sign you on and do some stuff like that." And that's how it started, like
Mm.
professionally. And then
Yeah.
then in Kansas City, they do a lot of commercials, and so then I kind of got some of the training ground on the commercials, and I'll do a couple things called Fringe festivals where you kind of just pop in different plays and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how it started. And then I moved out over here to LA. Where I was younger too, because I was like, I'm gonna just get me out of the Midwest, and I'm gonna go out over here to to LA. And it was fun, and then I ran out of money. I forgot how
Yeah.
expensive it was compared to
For sure. Yeah.
And then I came back to KC, and then I was still with her, and I said, "Hey, I'm back, and I could do some stuff." And it's crazy because that's where things started to pick up more. Since when I started doing more commercials and national commercials, and yeah, that's how it started. And then it led me, and then God called us out over here, and that's a crazy story itself too. But it's
Yeah. So
that's
so
all.
with the acting gigs and whatnot you've done, did you start kind of like in the local scene first, and then like moved on to different
Yeah, so I did. So it was a lot of just everything locally, in
like mattress
KC.
mattress stores and like all that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it would be whatever came in, like it's amazing. Like the stuff you do, I did like Kansas City is a nice little hub for a lot of places. So they have one of the top um, ad agencies out there, in the world
Oh,
that's
really?
their headquarters are there. So that's what that they provide a lot. Also, Hallmark, their headquarters is in Kansas City,
Oh, no
and then
way.
you had Sprint. Remember Sprint?
Mm-hmm.
That's not funny to say. You remember Sprint? Like their headquarters was in KC. H&R Block's headquarters in. So they have a lot of these big, companies that a lot of times they'll just, if they want something quick, they'll just do something, in KC instead of flying someone in or doing it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I did those. I did a lot of Kansas lottery commercials and Missouri lottery commercials. And then that's how, yeah, you just started. And then whenever things would come, and then what really changed was this. And this is whenever I realized, like, hey, man, like you can make some money in this thing. Was there was a national commercial for Wendy's.
Okay.
And so then and I did at the time. It's so funny because I didn't think of it of anything. I was just like, hey man, it's going to be whatever the base dollar amount's going to be. And so then I did it, and I still remember doing the audition. Then I did a callback. I did a callback, and I remember when I got it too. So like the director and the producer, they're in the room, and I'm doing it, and I forgot I was doing some of the lines, and I was like, I'll stick to Wendy's. Like that was my last line. Like I'll stick to Wendy's, and then they're like that's it. I was like, did I get this right away? And then they're like, good. And then I was like, oh, I think I got it. And so then my agent, she said, hey, you've been booked on the Wendy's thing. It's a national one. And you're going to be the face of Wendy's for 1 year. And I
Wow.
did a commercial with and it was with Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, snap.
And so they had Lou Ferrigno came in, the original Hulk. Him and I were in the room together, do the thing, and then they posted out. They were using my image all over, and somehow it made it out to Japan, and it was
Oh,
like
wow.
it was like that's whenever, and then the uses started coming in, and then I was like, oh, so this is what you can do with this thing. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like just one, and people were hitting me up and everything. I'm like, oh, this is how it is, so that's what it really, for me, I felt like I actually like was like a professional at that moment whenever that happened. Because when
Yeah.
there was a time when you popped up YouTube, it was a Wendy's ad, and there's my face holding the Wendy's burger, and so it was, yeah, that's when
Man.
that was whenever it really hit. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, this is a cool day.
That's a cool story. I mean, especially like, because yeah, there's probably a sense of like where that clicked in your mind too. Like I don't know anything about the actual process of audition booking. Even
Yeah.
is it even the way that transpires? Are you getting paid a single time, or is it like residuals, or?
So yeah, so you get paid. So you'll get paid from you get paid for that day, whatever day,
Mhm.
how many days you work in the fitting. So when you try on clothes and all that jazz, so you get paid for that, and then the big payout is the usage, just for how many times people, where they're using it, where they're putting it, and so when it's national, then it's all over, and
Yeah.
those are the ones where, man, it was crazy. It was awesome. It was like I remember getting a check, and I forgot how old I was whenever this happened. I was in my 20s still, but I didn't have. I was I was single. I
Hmm.
remember getting this check, and I was still working a job, and I got a check for like $35,000. I said, "Hey, come on, I can do this all day." I was like, "Come on,
Yeah.
man." I was like, "Let's give me some more of these." Right? And so remember, I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I see how
Yeah.
this thing works. I can see
Yeah.
how this works."
But
So
not to mention like you're building your portfolio. That's
exactly.
probably equally as valuable too.
Yeah,
To build that up.
100%. hundred
Not,
percent. To me, though, the money was more important. I don't care about the
yeah, oh,
portfolio.
yeah,
I was
for sure.
like,
Especially if this was before you're married, it's like I got to think
yeah,
about my future.
exactly.
Like
Listen,
yeah.
listen, I don't care who. Forget the portfolio. Put that portfolio into Chase bank account,
Did you and Lou Ferrigno compare biceps at the time, or how'd you?
bro. This dude. This dude, man, he was a little shorter than I thought because they put him on pillows, and so like, yeah, but he
Really?
was
Okay.
he was he was big.
He's still
It's funny because
pretty yoked out.
he was big, super
Yeah.
nice guy too, super nice guy, and so yeah, but it was cool. It was a cool experience just working with him and.
Yeah, I dug deep into your IMDb a little bit. I went on a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
I saw the Wendy's like one of the spreads that you had done with the Wendy's advertisement and stuff too. And so I know that you even you did some local work with in the Fresno area from one of our companies out here,
Table Mountain
Table
Casino.
Mountain Casino. Yeah. And so I even told my wife, because we were watching Hulu one time, and I felt like I had this super pride. I was like, I know that guy. I know him, And so, so I saw that. And then also it was with Danny Trejo. So I was like, man, this guy is like doing some big stuff,
Danny's he's legit. He's that
Yeah.
guy. That guy is legit. He is.
Yeah.
He's the nicest human.
He's a believer too, right?
Yeah, his story is crazy, which I didn't know all that at the time. Whatever. It's just it's funny because it depends on what generation you are, is how you know Danny Trejo.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me, I told him, I was like, man, it's so nice to meet you. And he's a guy, he's like, he tells everyone, he's like, oh, Danny, nice to meet you, Danny, And I was talking to him because I was like, I know, because people were like saying, how I know you from Heat, which I remember, and then, which was a great movie,
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I know you from Spy Kids. That's how I know you. And he's like, I'm just old. That's what I am. You're telling me. I was like, a little bit, but you'll be all right.
Yeah. I know him from I know him from the other stuff too, but like where I'm most of his fan is from his work on Breaking Bad. That was that was my show. So
what's funny? I've and I'm going to do it this year, but I've actually never seen Breaking Bad.
Oh man, you got to. You have. That's one of the all-time greatest.
I saw this video on Instagram where some guys like they're like, name a show that you wish you can watch and like that is for the first time. And the guy's like, it's Breaking Bad. And I read all the comments were like, yes. And so that convinced me where I'm like, oh, maybe I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I'm on this a similar kick where I want to get back to some of the classics because I've never seen The Sopranos or The Wire.
Oh, there it is.
Did they thumb again? Yeah. But some of those classic, like real reputable ones that I want to go through and make sure I get a chance to watch it. But yeah, I highly recommend Breaking Bad. It might start off a little slow, but like it's worth it.
I'm going to do it whenever I can. I'm going to do it. So.
So I also saw that you did some work with another one of my favorites, Sebastian Maniscalco. Yeah, man, that's pretty recent, right? The recent work that you guys.
Yeah, that was last year. So it was awesome. We got asked to just because we're new parents and stuff like that. Got asked to if we could go ahead and just do something when he started his own podcast and. We just talking about parenting and everything like that, and Sebastian. So we met in a hotel at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, and Sebastian, he's awesome. It's so cool because it's like you hear so many people who they've had run-ins with different celebrities, what I'm saying, and then they'll say have such a bad rap, So a lot of I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just God been good to me, but like everyone that I've met, they're just like it gives you, like they're just good people. Sebastian's so cool. Came in, he's like, Sebastian, nice to meet you. I was like, dude, stop it. You know what I mean? Like this is your thing that I'm doing with you, And so he's real cool. I want to work with him again.
That's awesome.
He's legit.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of his comedy, but I also because my boys are obsessed with the Mario Brothers movie right now, and so he's one of the voices on the movie too. So
he's like the bad guy, if you will, the plump plump or whatever.
He's like their childhood bully or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know.
Was there anybody that you met that you like totally fanboyed out, like any of the celebrities that you've come across, or even in passing or anything like that you've?
So the one that only because it's near to dear in my heart. I went back to KC to do a direct TV commercial. And it was
Okay.
with Patrick Mahomes. So I was, he's my quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, listen, you've changed my franchise. I love you. I shouldn't say that. I mean, how I feel professional. That was
As much as one man can love a man in a
yeah. Should I just go back to read my cards? Okay, I'm gonna go back to my cue cards. Dude, yeah, Patrick Mahomes. He was fun. He was legit. And then, man, I met some. It's just crazy. You know how it is. It's just so crazy. You just run into so many people. And then Jason Sudeikis, I met him at a LAFC game, LAFC versus Sporting Kansas City.
Okay.
And so, and I've been a fan of Jason's for years, and he's a Kansas City kid. He's literally an Overland Park, Kansas kid, like I am. So we grew up 2 blocks, and we're talking about this. We grew up 2 blocks away from each other, but 17 years apart.
Yeah.
But he grew up on 94th and Metcalf. I grew up on 95th and Metcalf, in Antioch. Yeah, so it's so crazy. But
wow.
It was so cool meeting him because he does this thing called a Big Slick. Him and some other guys that big celebrities who are from KC, and people ask me all the time, man, who's your favorite actors, and who do you love watching? And for me, that's always going to cheer up to all the time, because for me, it's the KC ones. You know what I mean? It's Jason, it's Paul Rudd, it's Rob Riggle, Eric Stone Street, Heidi Gardner, Anthony. Man, I mean, I just go on. It's David Kettner, it's Eddie Griffin. It's the people from Kansas City who grew up on where I grew up at, and those are the ones that I love watching, and because that's it, man. That's a small town. We're from Kansas. We're So
it's there's a sense of like everybody, we've all been through it together.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way, but like Fresno doesn't have any really celebrities per se. But anytime somebody comes up, I mean, like we've got some athletes that come through. Like Aaron Judge is on the Yankees.
Aaron Judge is
what? He went to Fresno State.
And also Derek Carr. Well, we might not mention Derek Carr.
Derek Carr's a Central Valley guy for sure. He's from Bakersfield originally.
That's right.
And then he went to Fresno State.
Adams went over there to Fresno State.
Fresno State, and then Paul George, NBA. He played at Fresno State College for basketball.
Paul George did?
Yeah,
bro. It's so crazy. My neighbor, literally right over here, Jackie. So he does a podcast with Paul.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Podcast fee. Yeah. So my buddy, Jackie Long.
LA guy. I think he's actually originally from LA, but he came to college out in Fresno too.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
We claimed him every time they come through Fresno State. We claim him as a local.
We'll take that. Thank you very much.
We'll take whatever we can get. And then there was I don't even know his name, but did you ever see the movie Napoleon Dynamite?
Bro, yeah.
So his brother Kip, he's from Fresno. So it's
come on, Fresno has people.
You go to the Wikipedia page and you see who our celebrities.
Shout out Fresno, man. Shout out Fresno. Dude, Fresno.
We got raisins and D-class celebrities.
Hey man, Fresno's it, man. Listen, when I was there, it was like, I mean, that casino. That was legit.
Yeah,
was so
they've done
nice.
a lot of work. They've done a lot of work for it. Yeah, it's a nice upgrade from what it used to be, actually too.
It was good. Listen, I put some money. I won a little bit. I got $100. I was all right. I was like, okay, maybe I do like Fresno, man.
Maybe I'm too cheap, but I cut myself off like at $40. I just like I can't justify. Yeah, I can't justify.
You have to have a cutoff. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good thing, because there's other people that are like, more deeper into the game than I will be. So,
100%. Fresno.
Yeah. Shout out to Fresno. I never. It's an interesting pathway that I took because I didn't think I was going to stay here. I'm from Fresno originally.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but I was as every 18, 19-year-old goes through. They want to get out of Fresno. Want to go out
yeah.
to do something bigger and better. So I moved away. I really wanted to move away to San Diego. So I was trying to get away to Sacramento
Mm,
as often as I could. But I ended up moving out to Phoenix. I just kind of was looking for places that I knew
really?
somebody and kind of like could make a life out where temporarily or whatever it was. So
Mm,
I transferred college out to Phoenix, and so I built a life there. And then
mm,
I wanted to move back to California, but not to Fresno.
mm,
It was around the times where my niece and nephew and everybody's kind of growing up. So I was like, I want to be close enough, but wanted to
mm,
make sure. So I moved out to Sacramento.
mm.
And then my mom went through a period of some health scares, and so I was working remotely at this time already for a tech company, and so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move back to Fresno for a little bit, make sure mom's doing all right. Thank God
Mm.
she's good now. Her health
Oh,
has
amen.
been restored.
Mhm.
But something interesting happened is on the maybe the second month after I had moved back to Fresno,
Mm,
I met my wife, and
mm.
we planted some roots, and the rest is history. I'm never leaving now.
So is she from Fresno? You good.
No, no, she's not. So she's from the Bay Area originally. But she had moved to Bakersfield, and then her and her friend were she was going to college in the Bay Area or in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and then her and her friend, they moved out to Fresno to kind of be young adults and kind of try to make their way and stuff too.
Mm.
Um, but
Wow.
ironically, I didn't meet her in Fresno. We were both just living in Fresno at the time. I met her on the set of the game show Let's Make a Deal.
Oh no
Um,
way. Wait, was that
yeah,
here in LA?
in LA. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So we met for the first time on the back the green room of that game show because we had taken. So at the time, I was kind of visiting this church that my sister was going to because I hadn't
Uh-huh.
even really fully moved back to Fresno. I was just kind of like
Mm.
I moved my stuff, but I was like, all right, let me see. And my sister was going to this church. It turns out my wife was going to that church too. But we had this huge like caravan of people that went to the game show that time, and
Whoa.
I saw her before, so I was like, oh snap, who's that
Yeah, yeah,
girl?
yeah.
But she was traveling in one of the other buses and stuff that they were taking, and then so it just so happened she ended up sitting right in front of me in the green room. So I made a
Wow.
cheesy attempt to speak with her, and then we exchanged information.
So
But
did you make a deal?
I came home with the best deal of them all. I mean, I didn't win anything on the game show, but
Oh, that
but
is
my
a
but my
very
wife.
good. That is ish, my friends. That is a very you won more than anyone else did. That's good.
Exactly,
I
and
like the way you
I didn't have to pay taxes either. So
did
no.
that. Bro, yeah. Was
um,
who was it? Was it Howie?
no, it was Wayne Brady. It was hosting it. So
Oh, let's make it. That's right. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about Deal or No Deal.
yeah, same
That's
thing.
what I was thinking
Let's Make
about.
a Deal is the daytime one. So the premise of
Yes,
that show is everybody dresses up to try to get picked out of the audience.
yes.
So I was dressed in a full head to toe flying monkey costume from the Wizard of Oz, and my wife still decided to give me a chance. So
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, that's right, Wayne.
yeah,
Let's make a deal.
so yeah, it was a cool experience. I actually did so I did during the breaks they kind of try to keep the audience hype and stuff too. So
Yeah,
they had these little micro games or whatever too, and so I answered a question about something that they had mentioned, like the history of the show or something like that, and then
yeah.
I ended up winning a hat. I don't know where that hat's at because that had been a good little marker in the history of my wife
Mm,
and I. But so it exists somewhere. I just don't know where it's at.
we gotta find that. Let's
Yeah,
go track that thing down. Let's
we hit
make a
the
deal.
10. Yeah, we hit the 10-year mark of our marriage, so it would have been a good time to bring out one of those memorabilia kind of thing too, man. Yeah.
Wow. Wait. So when did you guys get married? You could
In
go.
2014.
2014. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I should have known. You said 10 years. I didn't do my math.
Well, we're 9 years and some months now. We 10 years in August, so we're almost there.
August what?
23rd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you guys? Are you guys August marriage as well?
No, we're July 7th. My wife
Okay.
is July 7th, right? We both out there looking. It was COVID. So it was COVID.
Okay.
So we were going to do it in February or no March, and whenever COVID something went down, then we're going to do it in Turlock,
Okay.
and then that just when it wasn't working. Then then it was like, listen, everything kept going. We're pushing back, and we're like, we don't want to push it, keep pushing back, and so then we just went up to my church. And we just, we're like, oh, let's just do it real quick. We asked the pastor and did a little ceremony. And then that's whenever we're like, okay. And then we're like, okay, next year we'll do a big one after everything's lifted.
Yeah.
And we'll go travel and do all that jazz. And then we found out we're having a baby. And then everything changed.
and such is life. Life does change once the kids come around too, because that's a
well, congratulations, 10 years coming up, man. That's awesome.
It's a milestone, marriage, as you know, marriage is in itself is a it's a
work.
It's somebody said, yeah, it's work. I mean, somebody said that you before you get married, you realize well, after you get married, you realize how selfish of an individual you were. But then when you are married and you build this relationship together for a while, you realize that before the kids, you realize how selfish as a couple you were,
Yes.
And so it's an always, evolving evolution of all that too.
That is a good word, right? That's so true. That is so true. Yeah. You start to forget how much time that you had, and that is a truth right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, Gondoe, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you're a busy man and a family man and all these things. You've been super generous with jumping on and chatting with me. And
you want to go for another 4 hours? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about politics. Let's get on.
More than anything, I just wanted to, I wanted to catch up. I haven't, chatted with you in such a long time. Man. So it's been a good opportunity just to get caught up to speed here.
Yeah, man. No, man. Let me ask you this. What's your vision for this, for the studio, for this podcast, where you want to take it? How does that look like?
It was interesting because it stemmed from just kind of conversations I was having with friends and whatnot, and everybody has that idea, like, let's start a podcast and do all this stuff too, and because I make music, I was kind of like, all right, well, I've got a little bit of sound equipment, I've got I want to do it, and so so I decided to do it, and so what basically I was kind of using it as a therapeutic session for myself to to like have these conversations that were really uplifting and helpful, and my circle is, I didn't overtly want to make it a Christian podcast, but me being a Christian, that's just my circle. And so we kind of get to topics of faith and spirituality and mental health and all this stuff, but it just stemmed from like the stuff that I think we as men don't talk enough about. And so that has really led to some really great conversations about manhood and fatherhood and everything in between. It's been really awesome, and I want to continue to foster that a little bit just to drive that forward.
No, man, I think it's dope. I think it's good, and the whole setup and the everything outlined. Like, listen, I meant it. I am not.
Maybe it's my OCD or something, that's compelling.
It's working. It's working. That's a good one. When you need some OCD, this would be it. I was like, bro, I don't know what. I was like, we're not going to use any of this, dude. I probably done like 10 or 15. I'm telling you, I'm like, some people.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to check in with you to see if you have any projects in the work that you're at liberty to discuss, or anything that you you're particularly proud of that we want to shout you out on.
Dude, there's one, but I can't talk too much. But okay. I'm so excited and I'm so pumped, and just because we went through the strike. And that was hell. It was like like for now, commercially it was fine, as in like, because the contracts are completely different, and strike was mainly with studios when commercials and ads are all with companies, and so
Okay.
they got all the funding in the world. They just sign off on anything. Uh, but theatrically, it was nothing. There was something that was that I had going with. There was a nice company that makes a lot of good childhood movies. That this guy who played around with a mouse was involved. Anyways, we had something going on with
Say no
them.
more. I got you.
Yeah, and then it went down because of the strike, and then we heard nothing. But then now it's starting to pop back. There's a lot of stuff that's delayed, but yeah, that one's for sure. I think it'll be later on of next year. So super excited. So that's going to be very excited whenever that comes in. So it's one of these where you know what, you just the faith is up, man. You just let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's yeah. There's a few different things, and
well, I'm gonna definitely tell everybody about to check out the old Wendy's ad that you did. And then I'm gonna tag all the socials and whatnot that I can of that. But if there's anything in particular that you want to plug, just let me know. And then
hey man, yeah, Wendy's. I mean, Wendy's is there. That's a fun one.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm still in contract with McDonald's now, so we should.
Okay. You're in a battle
I think I have
of
a
the
few more
fast
months
food.
with McDonald's. That's it. But then other than that, I'm open. So any other burger company? Man, I'm free. Come on.
You're gonna be the highly sought after fast food guy.
Man, I'll take it. I would take it 100%. Man, no, man, I have a few different ones that just come in. It's funny because commercials it's you do them sometimes. You like I've never seen myself like just watching TV and then like, oh, there I am. I've never actually had that experience, and so it's just funny because I either have friends who reach out to me or people say, hey, did you do this or did you do that? I'm like, I probably did. And and thank you for reminding me because sometimes you forget if you got paid from that job too. So it's like, oh,
You need to hit up my agent right now.
Yeah, I need that. So it's very fun. So no, I appreciate it. Man. We'll just no plugs, no nothing, man. I'm excited for that one to come up. And then other than that, man, I'm glad that we got to reconnect, and I'm glad you're doing this. And it's professionally ran, and man, I just know that this is going to blow up even more than it already is, but it's just going to do something incredible.
I'll receive that. I'll receive it. Yeah.
I know it. So, plus you got the guitar, you got the nice background. Listen, my house is a mess. This is the best thing that I can do right now.
You did a good job of. I mean, that's why I have this closed door, because outside there is the chaos, and I can close this door and not be a part of it.
We got toys over here. I got milk that's sitting out on strawberries. I don't know. It was one of these days where I came home and I'm like, all right. I don't know. I gotta figure it out.
Dad life, man. Dad life.
It's it, man. It's it.
Well, Gondoe, man, I appreciate your time, and thanks for jumping on. And man, let's when this blows up again, and I can really put you on the map again. Let's make this happen another time.
I appreciate it, my brother. I appreciate it. The Minute Room Podcast, right here, right now. Hit subscribe. Do you have to do your closing?
No, I'll do this all in post. I'll do it in post. But I'm gonna tag that and probably
subscribe. If you see this video and you don't subscribe, if you see this video, you don't even follow him. Come on. There you go.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. From your mouth to God's ears. That's
right.
All right, my man. Peace out. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You, man. We'll talk soon, all right, brother?
All right, brother, man. See you later.